And therefore to be strong, to be healthy, you hear that? To be strong, to be healthy, to be stable, to be formidable, to be competent, to be capable, to be empowering. These are all qualities of the Qur'an. You and I cannot achieve them if we don't have time, if we don't have resources, if we don't have commitment. We need to change. But as I say to myself and I say to you, my relationship of the Qur'an is felt in the way I deal with you and I deal with the world. Your relationship with the Qur'an is felt in the way you deal with me and you deal with the world. And we are constantly demonstrating this. Whether there is Qur'an in us or there is no Qur'an in us. And how lofty is this Qur'an in us. So the Qur'an tells us, وَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا وَلَن تَفْعَلُوا فَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. And the common ideas we had is that this fire will be made up of human beings and rocks. Right? So if this fire is to be made up of human beings and rocks, and it's going to happen when we are dead, we still have time to play around. But we need to understand the context in which the word hijara here means. Hijara means hardness, rocky-like attitude, rock-like reception. When you and I are reminded about lofty values, about better principles, about enhancing philosophies of life, do these words fall on us as if we were hard rocks that the water just hits it, runs off or bounces off? This has to be taken in context, that the fuel for the destruction of the human beings is not a material fuel. The fuel for the destruction of ourselves is primarily our attitude towards divine guidance. Our toughness, our hardness, our rock-like heart, our emotions, our minds, that no matter what we hear, we have already solidified what we are. There is very little room for germination of divine seeds, of sublime growth. My brothers and my sisters, we need to understand that kufr is a very dangerous disease. Kufr is a very dangerous disease. And as I mentioned to you before, that you can actually observe the Qur'an as the masterpiece of human psychology. Because what is it really about? The Qur'an is a book of history. The Qur'an is a book of present. And the Qur'an is a book of future. What is it about the history of the Qur'an or the present experience that the Qur'an tells us about, or of our future? It's talking about human beings. It's not taking the behavior of the sun, or the behavior of the moon, or the behavior of the rivers. The main dialogue in the Qur'an is human behavior. It's how humans behaved in the past. And the rationale for that is that you and I, who are living in the present, can benefit from the experience, the positive ones, as well as the negative ones of those before us. Because as I have learned and I've shared with you, history tells us what happened. History tells us what happened, where it happened, how it happened, to whom it happened, why it happened, and how often it happened, and what's the likelihood of it happening again and again. Anybody who is a good student of history is like somebody who's walking with a strong head on his shoulder or her shoulder. Anybody who does not have a refined sense of history is like somebody who's walking but there's no head on the shoulders. Because with history, we have a sense of the past, but a dynamic sense, a living sense. And all of us had histories. All of us have histories. Those around us have histories. Those before us have histories. And if you want to know who we are, what we are, where we are, there's a history to all of that. Our history determines our presence. So if you want to know why we are what we are today, we have to go back and check our history. And if you want to know where we'll be tomorrow, history also gives a lot of clue and a lot of information. Because history tells us what. And with our history, we can understand our experiences. We can work to keep it, or we can work to change it. That's the good thing about it. We can change our predicament anytime. We can change our backwardness anytime. We can change our laziness anytime. We can change our indifference anytime. We can change our non-involvement in the life of our family anytime. We can become proactive. We can change our life from being somebody who has the least relationship with the Qur'an to becoming somebody who makes a commitment to go and learn the Qur'an, to take his or her family. We can change our history, that instead of being part of a political system that exploits, we can become part of a political system that enhances. We can change our history, instead of being part of an economic system where we have no answer to the exploitation, we can become part of a society where we influence the actions, that instead of exploitation, we will have a society that appreciates, that grows, that enhances. We can help even the Muslim countries, those countries especially that most of us have come from, that we have relatives and we have friends, and most of the time we keep getting nasty news, either through the media, or if you pick up the social contact media and you call home and you visit, you know what's the reality. It's nobody really telling lies on the Muslims. We know that the world is not responsible for leaving their goals and coming and liking Muslims. But if Muslims don't have time to really like themselves and care themselves and dream of a better tomorrow and examine what they have been following and question their loyalty and their support for their leaders and question the interpretation of things that they've gotten, there is nothing going to change much in the Muslim mind, in the Muslim world, and in the Muslim communities. So, the wake-up call for all of us is to understand that kufr, which I told you means to hide, to conceal, to suppress, and to veil, to block out divine loftiness. A kafir is not somebody from outside. A kafir is any human being in whose life divine guidance does not pop out. Let me repeat that. A kafir is not necessarily somebody from outside. A kafir is any human being who hides divine guidance, who conceals it, who suppresses it, who blocks it out, who veils it. When you deal with him or her, it doesn't stand.